Hello, welcome to the CID First Shot for Trenchers. This time around, we have the dev team, all of the Wills here. What are we going to be talking about today, guys?
We got 3 Wills.
Yeah, how you're not a will. That's all we're talking about today.
I'm not a Will. I said it's you, not me.
You said all the wills.
All the Wills.
We're missing one.
Don't
You're
worry about
standing
it.
for
Well,
shit.
well,
I'm Schick today. Don't worry about it.
We've got Will Pagani.
Yes.
Will Pagani.
Hello.
I'm Will Hungerford.
And I'm still a Will, even though everyone calls me Oz.
Your name's
I'm
Oz.
Will Schoonover.
Yeah,
The favorite Will.
Everyone's favorite.
absolutely.
100%. So we got that going on, all of you here. What are we going to be talking about with all of the Trencher stuff today, guys?
We're going to be talking about all the new Trencher releases, as well as some of the older releases that are going to be going through our Trencher CID cycle.
Yeah, I mean, this is
And obviously a Theme Force.
the first Theme Force release that's coming out, because the previous CID was for Grimkin, which was a brand new faction. Then we did Battle Engines, we did Steamroller. So this is the first time we're doing a Theme Force CID, which is sort of how models get released going forward. And so you get your first look at sort of how it works. The Theme Force comes out for the faction, and all the new models that go along with it, and sort of the idea of things that we might CID. In this cycle, you're going to see some older models that have been out for a while previously that fit into the Trencher Theme Force that are getting a second look because it's their time.
Anything for you to add, Oz? Or is
No,
that
he covered
encapsulated?
everything.
He got it all. All
That's what I do.
Smooth.
right, wonderful. Where do we want to start today?
I think we want to start out with some of the new stuff, specifically Siege 2, or Colonel Marcus Siege Brisbane, is fairly exciting.
I'm told he has no mustache.
He does not have a mustache,
doesn't.
but you can add your own at home, and I know that I will.
I know I will, too.
Before we talk about Siege 2, do you want to touch on actually the Theme Force itself?
Oh, yeah, you get in there, bud.
And then we can go over the actual
You
individual
want Oz to
models.
get in on that?
Seems great.
I'll let Hungerford handle it.
Sure. So the Theme Force that we're talking
Just
about,
interject every once in a while.
so everyone knows the kind of models. You always Signar Warcasters. You have all the non-character Warjacks and Triumph. So Triumph can go along with anybody in this Theme Force, not just Siege. And then it's pretty simple. It's Trencher models / units. They also have the Rangers that can go in there as well because thematically the Rangers are part of sort of the Trencher forces.
They're
and
kind of
Signar.
reconnaissance. They take information back.
Yeah, when a trencher platoon or brigade goes out, they have rangers alongside of them. So one thing that's cool in this Theme Force, you can also take Murdoch and you can attach a mercenary unit to it because Murdoch's our trencher ranking officer.
Have we seen that in a theme before, or is this something we've done that's new this time around?
We have seen other themes that allowed mercenary models to go into them,
Yeah.
but this is the first one. Well, I think this is the first one where you have a ranking officer that allows you to add another unit, an entire
Yes.
another unit, not a specific mercenary.
That's more what I was touching on with
Yeah.
that.
And Harrison Gibbs is in there, too, because he is a Trencher model.
Yeah,
even though he's a merc.
Yeah. The Theme Force gives +1 to the starting roll. It gives you free models for a certain amount of points worth of Trencher models you take. You'll be able to see all this when you look at the CID notes. But one of the big things that we'll talk about as we're going through all the new models is it gives all Trencher models rise. So pretty much all Trencher models have tough. Just
think
about
all.
every one
Yeah.
of them.
I think all of them.
And so your entire army, outside of the Warjacks effectively, being able to make tough rolls and being able to stand back up. And later on we'll see a model that gives a model / unit feign death. So they make the tough roll, then they can't even be shot or hit with magic spells, and then they just stand back up. This Trencher army has got some really strong attrition play.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
with that out of the way, sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no.
It's a good place to start.
Let's go back to Siege 2.
Siege 2, well, he's got a rocket turret, which is one of my favorite parts of him. And the rocket turret is a little deployable that he gets to place down that kind of takes the place of his ranged weapon. It shows that he can leave this thing behind and then go on his breaching mission, and that's kind of the theme behind Siege 2, is that he's a sort of frontline breaching caster that's meant to break the opponent's line and push through the trenches, essentially.
Yeah, it's like the original Siege was known for breaking the hole in the wall of a Sul, right? Siege 2 is the guy that breaks the hole in the wall of your opponent's army.
Yeah.
With things like Unstoppable Force and some really powerful non-linear attack vectors. He has feet moves everybody 3 inches. That includes himself, then they dig in. He himself has jump, where he can move up and they get placed within 5 inches. So Siege's own threat vectors of being able to feet move 3, advance, then jump, get placed 5. And he's got a weapon with ram to knock whatever. So his own melee capabilities are very strong and can be very difficult to predict.
Well, and this Siege is all melee. He trades the Siege 1's rocket gun for a rocket turret that he plants somewhere. So he's only running around with a hammer beating on stuff.
Here's a question for you, Oz, just quick. Hungerford mentioned that the feat allows Siege to move everything up 3 inches and then dig in. Does this also apply to Warjacks?
It is for warrior models.
Okay, just warrior.
Small and medium.
Yeah,
based
small and
warriors,
medium based.
specifically.
Small and medium based.
Okay.
And so anyone who's played with Shay in the past understands the power of a feat that allows you to move 3 inches. I mean, while Shay's feat has some other effects on top of it, this move does not ignore free strikes, for example. Just the ability to reposition your entire army it's incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Well, it can clear charge lanes. It can disengage stuff. So if you have something you want to shoot and somebody didn't quite kill it in melee, they can walk out of melee. Yeah. So there's just a lot going on with this feat, and it's a very powerful feat for being very basic.
One thing that we're going to be sort of the point of this CID talk we're having over is go over the core concept of all these models, and to sort of discuss like what we want out of them. You'll be able to see all the rules, so we're not going to really go super deep into the individual rules because those are available on cid.privateerpress.com. We want to give you our thoughts on the concepts and where we want to see them go, so maybe when you're playtesting them, you have a better idea of what they're supposed to be.
Awesome. I'm just going to have you look over that for a second. It's the easiest way
No
to look at
problem.
that.
No problem.
We've got Tony and John behind the scenes, behind the camera for
No,
you.
Tony's not here.
Tony is not here.
Tony's not here?
Tony's not here, Hungerford.
I was told that Tony would not be here. And
What
that
are
he
you
would continue
hallucinating
to
right
not
now?
be here.
All right, we just
Fine.
have John in a giant black spot
Yeah.
behind the
It's
camera giving directions. So if you see us just looking at you and then all of a sudden looking over terrified and trying to read something quickly, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Mortal coil of fear here.
So who do we want to cover next?
Well, the patrol dog is the next on our paper, which is very official.
The patrol dog.
The model I care about the most in this entire
Yeah.
release.
I
Were you
feel like
gonna say
if the patrol dog ever dies, like it's just a tragedy.
It's-
And that actually brings back command rules. It's on his card.
It's like a Warcaster assassination. The game ends when the patrol dog. That's not true.
Yeah.
Everyone flees immediately.
So the patrol dog, if again, this is a thematic thing. Trencher companies all have a single dog with them. It's basically their mascot. So when you look at this thing and you're like, why is it FA1 and not FA2 or 3? It is actually a sort of a narrative reason. They keep this dog, and this dog is sort of their inspiration, their little foxhole buddy that keeps spirits high and also helps them out. He sniffs out enemies trying to ambush them, trying to find, trying to snipe them, things like that.
Yep.
And you see that in his rules, and that he has the ability to be noisy, effectively, remove stealth. He also gives all the trenchers dodge.
Yes, which is kind of him warning them of incoming fire, incoming attacks. It's kind of hilarious to me that he has the rule leadership for trenchers because he's a dog, but I love that interaction with the trenchers.
My favorite thing is that he has crit knockdown on his jaws. Because
It's a hefty dog.
taking down juggernauts.
Well, even small dogs.
just-
Anyone who's owned a small dog knows that a small dog can trip you really
That dog's going to
easily.
rough you up, man.
You know, if you're having a problem with him biting a juggernaut and bringing it down, think of it like he headbutts him in the foot till he falls over.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you've seen my dogs.
However, you have to imagine it. It doesn't.
He's not as big as your dogs.
I mean, he could be.
But can you imagine like just a solid,
It's tiny.
you know, like a nice big lab
What if it's
headbutting a tank to the ground?
What if it's the painter
Bark,
Thagrosh
bark,
juggernaut on
bark.
a large base? What if it's that?
Yeah.
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
It's like a
what if
squeaky
it's that
toy,
one,
and he's
Hungerford?
just shaking it.
So this model's a solo. So his leadership, you can kind of move it around wherever you want to. And he has a new rule that gets introduced with the Trencher theme force that you see repeated in several different places, which is Foxhole Buddy.
Yep.
Not everyone can dig in. While he's a well-trained dog, he can't put a shovel in his mouth and dig a hole. So if he gets near someone who is dug in, he sort of jumps in the foxhole with them and benefits from cover and a lot of the other effects.
And that pops up on several things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've added
At least,
several different
at least
things.
two.
Yep. So that's the
That
patrol
is
dog.
several.
He is
Two
the
is
best
several.
model in the entire release by 12. I know it's FA1 by 12.
No way. The blockhouse is the coolest model.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
You guys are wrong. Anyway, the next thing is the coolest model.
And then we'll get there, Oz.
It's the next thing.
You get
We're
it?
there.
Get it.
Let's
So
do it.
it's the Trencher Express team.
Why don't you handle that?
We talked about it a little bit in the podcast the other day. It is a sniper team, traditional sniper team, spotter and guy with big gun. But the guy with the big gun is a Trollkin model that has a gigantic gun.
Yeah, that gun could only realistically be carried to battle by a troll or like an ogre.
It could be mounted on a light warjack or carried by a big dude.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
big
now
gun.
we already had the Trenchbuster, the Ogren Trencher. So now we've reflected how Sigmar, Signar has more. Words are words. Signar has more interaction from the different races in the Iron Kingdoms than some of our other nations.
Yeah. Conceptually, the Express team is, they've got the cannon and they've got the chain gun. This is sort of the mobile weapon crew, is what it's meant to do. I can move around much faster than those two can, dig in, and take shots where you need them. So if you were thinking about bringing a weapon crew and you want one with just a little bit more mobility, and not sort of really getting to where it needs to be, digging in and just taking shots from there, that's what the Express team is all about. So it's just another option in sort of your weapon crew arsenal. And you'll notice they are a weapon crew unit for fellows like the Master Gunner who can give them different buffs.
It's pretty dope.
I really like specifically the rules interaction of Rangefinder with this weapon because it has Thunderbolt. So it gets boosted attack rolls with Rangefinder, and then Thunderbolt has that sweet critical knockdown built into the push on it. So to me, that's kind of one of the big things for this one is it's great at clearing zones. It can push Warjacks out. And then whenever you are going for an assassination or trying to hit like a really high-value piece, you can try and fish for that critical hit.
And weapon crews are very important to look at in this force because the free models you get from the theme force are either command attachments, solos, or weapon crews. Yeah. Not 9 out of 10 times the first solo you're taking is Finn. Because
he's Finn.
Finn is Finn.
Yeah.
He has every advantage icon you can have. I think he picked up Cavalry and Undead and Corporeal at this point. Who knows? But his card is just nothing but icons, and all of them are good
off
ones.
of other corpses. Yeah. I would not put it past Finn.
Yeah, he has almost every rule in the game except for like a mobile. So you're taking Finn as your first free model. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
But then you really have some good choices. A lot of really solid command attachments, which we'll talk about one in a second. Mm-hmm. And then being able to take any of the weapon crew units, that's a lot of different variety in the list. So these guys just add to that.
Absolutely. So coming up next is the Trencher Commando Officer, who I personally am pretty excited about.
He's kind of good.
Yeah. A little
Did
bit.
you want Commandos to kill
everything?
The world?
Yeah.
Not the same. Not all at once.
We got you.
It's one of the ones that I'm definitely keeping my eye on.
I love the concept art, too.
Yes. This guy is just like, I don't care. We're going to go in there, we're going to stab him, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. He's ready.
So he gives
he
him...
carries around an ammo box to just put his foot up on to look even cooler.
Well, yeah. You got to. It's all about style points, Oz.
Yeah.
It's all about style points. So he has all the normal commando rules. So, of course, he's got advanced deploy, Pathfinder stealth, tough, anatomical precision, all that kind of stuff. And he gives the unit reposition, which is fantastic for the commandos. It really lets him get in there, clear charge lanes, get out of the way afterwards.
Especially when combined with quick work.
Especially when combined with quick work, which he also gives them.
Yeah.
Which is amazing with the scatter gunners. And then the mini feat.
That other one. Yeah.
So he's got mission objective, which basically is a one-turn prey. It gives you +2 attack and damage. So the scatter gunners that you can add to the commandos now get to charge in, you mini feat. They hit a guy, kill him, usually because of anatomical.
And they're mat 9.
They're mat
the
a
mini
million
feat.
at that point. They quick work with the scatter gun, which is now all benefiting from this prey if you're hitting the unit that you targeted with it. And then you get to reposition 3 on a unit that has stealth to get in a really good position. So the commandos, where the trencher infantry or your front line, maybe even screening unit potentially, the commandos can go and harass just about anything. They don't want to go toe-to-toe with big heavies and colossals. But when it comes to enemy infantry, including cavalry or medium-based infantry, you can send them off on their own now with this officer especially with mission objective, and they'll take care of whatever they need to. And that's sort of their concept is the commandos go ahead. They have what they're trying to take out. They have their mission. And they go complete their mission without necessarily a ton of support from the rest of the army.
Yeah.
No.
And then mechanics.
And then some sweet trencher mechanics, which are definitely the best combat mechanics in the game at the moment. They have carbines just like the trencher commandos, so they are ranged in POW 10, and they're RAT 6. So these guys can actually fight. They can clear infantry. They can hold zones. They can dig in. So they're certainly a staple of the army, and they're a nice little point filler that you can kind of sprinkle in when you don't have a ton of points left.
Do we consider House Shael Arcanist as combat mechanics?
No, they're magic ability 5.
Okay, so we weren't.
I think that's an icing on top kind of.
But we're not.
Whereas this
They've
is
got a
like-
magic attack, but we're not going to consider them to be combat mechanics.
Sure, I wouldn't.
Okay,
They're
well,
ready
if that
to
is
go onto the
personal.
battlefield, I think, but I
If-
don't think they're ready to,
if
necessarily
that's the
murder a
consensus,
guy.
then trencher mechanics are the best combat mechanics because they don't all have Empower, which would be ridiculous. Who would make a 3-man unit that all has Empower?
You would.
Anything you want to add about the mechanics?
No, they're just really straightforward guys that are trenchers with the ability to repair things.
Sure.
So you're getting 3 extra trenchers in your army.
And
And they have the side benefit of fixing things when they broke down.
And if you're taking a blockhouse, which we'll talk about later, the big structure, these guys can hang back and fix up a fix up a blockhouse.
Absolutely. They can hang out in the trenches there, too.
Yeah,
Don't even have to dig in.
Bolt the doors back on, right? Speaking of another unit that you see in trench mechanics, which are another version of mechanics, we're going to see trencher long gunners. So Oz, do you want to say something specific about the trencher long gunners?
So long gunners are not as good as trenchers. Original long gunners, stat-wise. Like, if you look at the stat line of the long gunners and look at the stat line of the trenchers.
Well, they don't have the
trenchers
training, right?
Trenchers have higher training, so they have higher stat line.
Yes.
So we took the hardware that the long gunners unit has, and we gave it to trenchers.
Revolver rifles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're just going to be higher stat lines still because they're trencher training and have that gun that everyone has known for 15 years as the long rifle.
And they're going to pick up tough.
And they're going to pick up tough and other things that are trenchery. They do not dig in because that's not what they're. Yeah, we tested that, and also thematically, that's not what they do.
They had dig in. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous.
Range 14 guns
Now,
that also dig in was a little too powerful.
With Siege 2, whose feet says everyone moves 3 inches
They
and
can
digs
still
in,
dig in, yeah.
you can get the original experience of trencher long gunners ruining the world.
I'm not going to take that
It's
away.
pretty spicy.
A little bit of taste that. That said, though, I believe we've also brought the original long gunners into this cycle. Correct?
Yes, they are, because the comparison of the two, we want to make sure that these guys don't overshadow entirely the long gunners and make it pointless to ever take long gunners.
Yeah. Well, let's go and skip ahead in our notes real fast since we're talking about the long gunners. Let's go and talk about their officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get an officer. It is kind of similar to the long gunner officer, and then it gives them an ability for their CRAs. So the normal long gunner officer lets them reroll failed attack rolls. And this one lets them reroll they can reroll their damage rolls if they would like, which is awesome.
Yeah, and they also have marksman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they get marksman. And then the mini feat he gives them is, I think, one of the coolest ones we've ever done, where it gives them duck and cover is the name of the mini feat, and it gives them hit the deck. So you can kind of decide, hey, is this Cotter gun carriage going to roll up and unload into my long gunner unit? Let's hit the deck and see what happens. And so it just makes them completely immune to blast damage for a turn. And then with Rise from the theme force,
just get right back up.
They get right back up, no problem.
And this is another single model command attachment.
Yeah.
There's only one model in here.
So
like the Commandos.
Conceptually, with the long gunners, if you test them in CID, the thing to remember is that they are better trained, more elite long gunners. So when you compare the two side by side, the trencher should be better. If points didn't exist and you were just comparing the two side by side, the trencher ones are stronger.
Correct.
Better trained, at least. I guess the last thing that has a direct comparison to something that once existed would be our
Trencher Warcaster Lieutenant.
Yeah.
So Signar will be picking up their third journeyman Warcaster.
Concept art for that also looks amazing.
So this guy I see being brought primarily with grenadiers and other lights that have decent range attacks like chargers and things like that because he has fire group. He does not bring arcane shield, but he brings fire group. He also has dig in. So as a journeyman, he can dig himself into a position. Say you bring a pair of grenadiers with him. He can dig in, have the grenadiers get in front of him, so he's pretty safe. They both power up.
He can load the grenadiers as well.
He loads the grenadiers because he's a trencher model. He gives them any focus he wants to, cast fire group, and then just has them blow the world up effectively.
A lot of worlds exploding today.
The whole world, it's died multiple times.
Multiple times.
It does. So where the original journeyman is more your sort of toolbox all-purpose journeyman, and then Jake's one was sort of your in-your-face offensive journeyman. The trencher journeyman plays like a trencher would expect. He finds a good position, he locks down into it, and then he just fires from that spot until you engage him. And then even when you do, he still has the stats to back it up. He's not a melee monster by any means, but he'll fight his way out of something that comes his way.
Absolutely.
Something like a storm wall.
I mean,
he's not going to kill a storm wall.
He could.
He could.
Maybe with Siege and a lot of other buffs. Siege 1.
Yep.
Just distract a Stormwall.
Yeah.
Wave your
Hey,
arms.
look over here.
But this is another one of those places where we want to make sure this model and the original Journeyman for the Army do not overlap too much.
Yeah,
There's a good reason. So he started with an Arcane Shield defensive type thing, and we moved him farther to the offensive side of the spectrum so that those two would have their own roles.
Did you know at one point he had deflection?
I suggested that at one point.
I think I was there for part of it.
It was not okay.
I think I had a heart attack when I saw that.
It was not okay. That got changed.
Yeah.
But his point, the abilities he hands out, we don't to translate that into rule suggestions you may give us in CID. We don't want him to have a spell that he would cast on models sort of out of his battle group. We won't want another arcane shield. We want him to sort of be his own self-contained battle group. So we're not looking for anything else. Like snipe, for example, would be something we really wanted to see thrown out by this guy.
You're going to kill Pagani today, or me. Someone's going to have a heart attack.
You want to talk about probably one of the cornerstones of the new release in terms of making the army function?
Yeah, I do want to hear that.
Pagani one?
Yeah, I want one of you to tell me about
So
it.
Trencher Patton is coming out.
Yes.
So to explain that to people, we have kind of keywords in the office for random things when we're talking about concepts. And Patton, the general in World War II that led American forces and was one of the bigger personalities, we've talked about that for a lot of armies. Like, this is their version of Patton. So
I thought it was the bear with the raincoat.
I thought it was the comedian.
that
Paddington?
with Paddington.
I thought it was
Nailed
the
it.
comedian, Patton Oswalt.
Close enough. Anyway, so in the future, you'll probably hear us say this is these guys' version of Patton because we want basically the quintessential military officer in a solo that will lead the forces cohesively.
Yeah, if it makes sense. Like, Trencher's
Yeah.
getting a Patton makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Are we gonna have
Tharn
are
a
we gonna have-
Patton?
Yeah, you
You
wouldn't
Tharn
say
Patton? No, probably not.
But how buff?
He'd be super buff.
super buff.
Maybe Tharn MacArthur.
I want to
Anyway.
I want to see what Blindwater Patton looks like now.
Of course you do. Your faction bias is showing again.
It's a crow.
Oh, it's got to be a crow.
Go Minions. All right, so let's talk about Anson Hinge.
Yeah.
He has 3 battle plans, and all of them are incredibly relevant.
Yes.
Probably one of the top ones. The one that we expect to see a lot of people use is gaining Feign Death. That's the name of that ability is Tenacity. You may remember that from something else. It's changed a little bit now. But the new Tenacity gives a Trencher model/unit Feign Death, which with Tough and Rise is ridiculous. Right?
It's very, very powerful, for sure. And to me, I like how his different abilities kind of affect the two different main units in different ways. So, like, Feign Death, not super great on commandos because they have stealth. But sometimes you run into, I remember, I think it was maybe a month ago, we had a playtest game where someone was playing Sons of the Tempest into a bunch of Trencher commandos. And they all have gunfighters, so they couldn't actually shoot them once they tough, even in melee.
Just point
so,
blank,
like...
I think I got him.
Off topic here,
And then
but-
the horse is like, nah, I got this.
Yeah, so I really like how each of his different abilities kind of affects the units differently. So against, like, Legion, for example, that ignores a lot of stealth, you may want to use Feign Death on your commandos. But then you have other abilities like Target Priority, which is you can re-roll failed combined range attack rolls. So that works really well on the normal trenchers and doesn't really do anything for the commandos.
No.
And it's also great on the long gunners. So that now you can re-roll both your attack and damage rolls on the long gunners.
It's pretty strong.
So
So the key when you're looking at this guy and testing him, whenever you have suggestions, is you'll notice that these battle plans all affect different sort of sets of trenchers and do different things. Like you were saying, some are stronger than others. We want to keep that. We wouldn't want all 3 battle plans to be like, oh, each of these is a great option for trencher, base trencher infantry. We want some of these options to be worse for certain units and better for other ones because that's his concept. He's able to direct an entire trencher brigade and do something for the whole cohesive force.
And overall, he has tactician for all trenchers in his Command 10 bubble. Yeah. So he is, even if he's not handing out individual things to all the trenchers, he's affecting all of them.
If he was a warcaster, he would be like Irisk for
Yeah,
trenchers.
basically.
But he doesn't have the spark, so he doesn't get anything instead.
poor guy.
Yeah, he just gets to die.
Poor guy. He just gets his third rule being fire and displace, which is one that we glossed over, but I don't think we should.
Repo 2?
Repo 2.
On a single unit?
We
It's
started
single,
with 3.
single model, right?
That didn't work. No, it's single. It's whole unit.
Yeah, it's model/unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
we put it back to model/unit?
Yeah.
Well, when it was 3, it let trenchers cloud wall and then get out of their cloud wall, so we didn't like that.
No,
And then it went to 1 model, and that wasn't so great.
Okay.
So it wasn't as powerful as we wanted, so we put it back to 2 and a whole unit, which is really, really classy on the long gunners because it lets them shoot and then displace backwards. It also lets them get a little more aggressive.
Did you say classy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like classy.
What's wrong with classy?
What are you? Super classy.
It's classy?
Yeah. It lets you
You're
play
not
with
being
class.
classy right now. You're being unclassy.
I'm from the bayou.
I don't care.
I'm just saying, when you get your long gunners and they aim and they shoot and they get their 2 shots and then they can reposition forward to...
And then you have like
That's
a
amazing.
porcelain glass of tea, and you're like, Chaz!
Well, this guy will
your
have...
your pinky's
Hitch
out.
will be out there with his tea. Or maybe it'll probably be coffee.
It'd be
Okay.
coffee
Yeah.
or some other
I see this guy as
alcoholic.
very
something a little
American.
harder.
Something a little harder.
Okay,
So we drink coffee in America.
Also, there's lots of situations where, for example, your express team might need to move forward to shoot something you really want to shoot, and then they're going to be in the way of a charge or something like that. So letting them scooch that 2 inches.
Sure.
It's pretty handy.
It's a
Sometimes you
classy
gotta
move.
scooch.
It's a classic scooch.
It's a
It's real classy.
All right, hey, whatever. I mean, we can add another term to the War Machine vocabulary.
Classy is a
Someone's
good
like,
one.
"Excuse me, I'm going to assassinate you in the classiest manner possible."
yeah.
Yeah.
You should always tell your opponent to stay classy. That's a good way to go too. Just stay classy.
And you should always stay classy.
100%.
We're going to get into some Anchorman stuff here in a moment. Not
Anyway,
We have one last new model to talk about, and it's
It's the biggest.
literally the biggest. It's the introduction of a new model type, which is very exciting. It's been a while since we've had a brand new model type. The last new model type would have been Warbeast packs, I
Yes.
believe, and then of course the big one before that, Colossals, Gargantuans, and we've had balance. So structures are being introduced.
Which my favorite thing about structures is all of the comments we got when the new edition launched.
Yeah.
Where people said, "Is this a typo where it says this thing damages structures better?"
and
No.
we were
And
like,
we were like,
no.
No, just wait for it. And they're like, "But there's no structures in the game yet." Like,
As I often say, there are oftentimes more pieces to the puzzle.
Uh-huh.
We have opened up more of the puzzle box with
Yep.
CID, but there is still always something out there that you may not have pieced together.
yeah.
So structures have their own rules, which are included in the CID cycle, and they're very similar to battle engines and the things they can and can't do. They've got fields of fire. They have 4 of them actually, because some of them can shoot 360. Some might be able to shoot in like 3 of their 4 fields of fire.
Yep.
Um,
Left, right, or back.
They can't be placed, so Haley will not be TKing her bunkers around the table
Yeah.
because that doesn't make any sense and is not okay. They cost less than battle engines on average.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, and they usually have a pretty far deployment, and then they have very long-range guns and/or abilities that reach out far enough that even once the battle moves past them, they're still going to be relevant.
Yeah.
And we really see that in the Blockhouse, both with the range of his gun, which I'll let you talk about everything his gun does, and then the reinforcements rule, which you can kind of tell us all about.
Sure. So his gun is... I turned my page. You caught me here. It's range 15, PAL 15, AoE 4.
Yep. High explosive.
High explosive and has Quake.
Yeah.
Now,
So it just shells areas.
Gun's not okay.
this guy is sitting there at Rat 6, which he can't aim because he's a building, so that just makes sense. But so he's Rat 6.
He is a trencher model,
he is
though.
a trencher
So
model.
Finn gives him +1.
So Finn gives him +1.
Yep.
You
Well,
can
and-
mark a target with Rangers.
And he's a weapon crew.
He's a weapon crew.
He's a weapon crew structure, not a weapon crew unit.
Correct.
But he's a
You don't
weapon
get these
crew.
for free.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't get a bunker for free.
Which
But
Master
you-
Gunners can affect him, so he can
But
shoot
yeah.
twice. But so he's Rat 6, goes to Rat 7 with Finn, goes to Rat 9 with Rangers.
Yeah.
We had another 2 somewhere when we were playtesting this.
Artillerist?
Artillerist from the Master Gun. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can go to Rat 11 if you want, and you can even Master Gunner him twice, give him Artillerist, and let him shoot twice. So this guy's hitting basically whatever it wants.
Yeah, and then on top of that, so the gun's ridiculous, especially when you stack any buffs on it. He has the reinforcements rule, so any trenchers nearby he can keep re-adding to their ranks. As basically trenchers are running out of the bunker and joining their units where guys have fallen in battle.
Yeah.
This could be like a weapon crew unit, so if you have like a chain gun dug in and you lose a couple of the little guys, you bring those guys back and have those chain guns stay relevant. And weapon crews with this guy is important to discuss because his other rule that shows sort of what we can do with structures and the idea of shaping the battlefield with this almost like purchasable terrain is that he comes with his own trench network.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
It's called Trench Network. Right
Yeah,
there.
nailed it.
Using terms that we set out on purpose.
I'm just glad he can read. That's all.
Classy move.
No, I'm just
Baby steps, Oz. Baby steps.
I'm just making this all up as I go, and I just happen to get it right.
It's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah. So
For sure.
Oz,
Yeah.
tell me how a trench network works.
So I'll just read it immediately after placing the model on the
No,
table during
no,
the deployment.
no,
Anyway,
no.
so you can put 3 trenches on the table.
Yeah.
They have to be touching this thing or touching a trench this thing placed.
Which effectively means you can't make a
just
row of
make
3.
a line of trenches that goes out to infinity.
Yeah, but you can have 2 in a row and then
Yeah,
one on the other side.
But you can make a T out in front of him, or you can make various things. You make a little Z. You can do lots of stuff.
Make it
If you
fancy.
take 2 of these things because they're FA2, you can
can
literally build a
cover a
trench
large
network
chunk, yeah.
that covers pretty much up near your deployment zone, where you
Yeah.
can put your caster and all your weapon crews and anything and hitch. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
want to keep safe? Finn can just wait there, smoking cigars and spinning up his minigun as he gets ready
Yeah.
to murder the world.
And it has forward deployment,
Third time the
which
world
is
Finn actually murders the world sometimes, though.
does.
Like
The
that's
world-
an actual.
the world is
legit
long
statement.
dead.
Yeah.
Finn has
in
destroyed
this
it.
situation. But forward deployment is 6 inches of additional deployment, but it doesn't happen in the advanced deployment step. It happens during deployment.
Yeah.
So this thing is going to have its trenches out where your advanced deployment models are going to be.
Yep.
so they can start the game in the trenches easily. Or it can put its trenches out a little bit further than they
You
would
can
be,
move into 'em.
so they can move right into them.
So when you CID test this one, the important things to remember in terms of feedback is relevance throughout the game, even though it can never move, which is a difficult thing to balance. This is a model that cannot go anywhere, but its gun needs to be effective, but not too powerful, and then its utility abilities, in this situation, the trench network and the reinforcements, need to feel like they have a place throughout the game until maybe the game's almost already over because of attrition, right? If at the end of round 6 you're like, I didn't have any models left for reinforcements to work, that's okay.
That's fine.
That
We got
happens.
6 turns out of it. That's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all the new models coming out with the Theme Force, but we have a pretty large selection of older models we're looking at.
Let's talk about what we're re-adding so that we can open up the floor to some questions from the audience that may be out there that have been watching us.
Rock and roll.
Like, so we'll just we'll sort of gloss over. We'll talk about them real quick, not necessarily get into depth, and then go from there.
Pagani, would you do the glossing?
I think my packet's broken.
No, there you are.
How about
here we go.
Yeah, they're just in
So
a
the Grenadier's in
unintuitive
here. The Grenadier's in here because he's kind of the focused trencher warjack. He has reload for trenchers.
He is the trencher warjack, right?
We really
Yeah.
want to see this guy have a good solid spot in this list because it's what he do. Like, he's got the Matic, he digs in, he advanced deploys.
He do what he do.
It's what he do.
It is
He
what
do
he
what he
do.
do.
It's accurate.
So we've got that guy. We've got the long gunners. We kind of touched on that one already.
Yep.
It's more about making sure that they have a place to exist in the game while the trencher long gunners also exist.
Yep.
We have trencher infantry.
Because it's
They're-
hard to look at this Theme Force
yeah.
without looking at them.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're going to be in probably every list for this this theme force.
I'd expect Trencher Commandos with the CA command attachment too.
Yep.
Trencher commandos with the command attachment, I imagine, are going to be very, very popular. They're also obviously in the CID. And then, of course, all the attachments for these as well. So the scatter gunners, the rifle crews, or the rifle grenades, the officer
Officer and
sniper,
sniper, yep.
all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the weapon crews. So we've got the trencher chain gun and the trencher cannon are both in here. We've got Finn, who, if I have anything to say about it, will gain at least 6 more icons before the end of
Yeah.
this.
Why did we put Finn in here?
He's a trencher.
He's a trencher.
I'm pretty sure he's a god, Oz.
But what does Finn possibly
trencher
need to
guy.
change?
It might not be.
Well, it's mostly his interactions with other models.
I want to make sure that he's.
If you say in your feedback, this model doesn't cost enough points because with Finn, it goes bonkers and destroys the world for the 10th or 12th
Fifth time. Fifth time.
real classic.
Fifth time.
Then we will more than likely not adjust Finn.
Okay, we can all agree that Finn is the best model in Signar ever, and one of the coolest models we've ever made, right? We all agree on
We
that.
can't say those things.
He's not a little dog, buddy, with pouches.
Oh, I forgot about the dog. I take it back.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I mean, come on, man.
I take it back. The patrol dog is the greatest thing we've ever done in Signar.
Sure. No, but sure.
All right. Carry on.
And then we hit the rest of the trencher stuff. So we got like the Trench Buster, Gibbs, Murdoch. Those guys are all being talked about in the CID cycle.
And a big one, though, Triumph, right?
And the real big
Yeah,
one to me,
Triumph.
we've got Siege 2 in here. We got to bring in Triumph, right? Like,
and he's part of the Theme Force.
He's part of the
Yeah.
theme force.
Yeah.
He's not seen very much play, so we really wanted to give him some tweaks to kind of get him to where we think he is one spicy meatball.
We started by dropping 4 points off his cost.
4 points,
Like
yeah.
step one, we're like, just
We're
drop
like
4
he's 20.
points.
Let's go to 16. Now he's pretty comparable to a defender. And then we started tweaking the rules. We changed around his bond to siege, so no longer basically explosives him for every shot. It now gives him brutal damage. Essentially, he gets all boosted damage rolls whenever he's shooting. So that works very well with his I'm forgetting the name, with rapid fire, which lets him shoot once during at the beginning of the turn before his activation, and then of course it also lets him.
And
do it
anyone
during
looking
his
at
own
the
turn.
PDFs right now will notice he didn't stay at 16.
Correct.
He's
yes.
at 18 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's at 18 right now?
Yeah.
Correct. Oh God, yeah. This guy for 16 would be banana.
Again,
Oh, well,
comparing it
provide
to
your
the
feedback on what you think
Yeah.
if he should be 16 or 18.
Hungerford is obviously going for 16, which is insanity.
But
But
don't listen to that. Man.
he also picked up dual attacks, so if you do tie him up in melee, he can still melee and shoot. So like one infantry dude running up to him isn't a problem anymore. He picked up True Sight instead of Arcane Precision, so he will always be able to see through stealth and stuff like that instead of having to aim for it. So he never got that on his rapid fire shot, which was a little sad.
With the bond and that, his rapid fire is far more relevant now.
Yeah,
It does everything he could do with his own activation, including getting the boosted damage.
I will say, just going into this is one of the guys I'm like, maybe we went a little too far here.
Yeah, but that's why we're asking for people's
Absolutely.
opinions.
Absolutely.
It's a process too. This is a good chance to be like, some things will shift down from where they start at. Some things will come up. It's all about finding that right place. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily always going to be upwards trajectories. I should not do that.
Maybe,
It'll be fine.
maybe we drop him another 2 points down to 16 like I thought, and we give him ambush. I'm not saying we do. We're just saying we could.
I mean,
We could do a lot of things. It's true.
put it on the paper.
Put it on the paper.
Yeah.
Put it on the paper. So
Excellent.
I think we've covered everything in our packet.
Yes, which is
So-
everything that is currently included in the CID. So
I'm going to look at John.
if it's
I'm gonna look
if
at
it's
the camera.
not in
Don't
the
look at
packet
the
for
void.
PDF stuff, it doesn't mean it's not possible that it can't change, but it's really not what we're looking for feedback on. So everything that we just went over and everything that is in the PDFs that we posted on the forums, that's really what we're looking for feedback for.
Yeah.
Do not look
Yeah.
at the void that's over there.
No voids.
So there's not Tony over there.
Forgot,
I
don't
swear.
look at that.
I just glanced.
Don't
I'm sorry.
look at it.
Sorry.
So John, we have some questions from the folks on Facebook. How's Facebook doing out there right now?
Facebook looks to be doing pretty good.
Okay,
and
good.
yeah, we've got a couple questions. Some of them repeated a couple of times. So if your name's not associated with it, it's not because you didn't ask it. It's because someone else asked it or something similar first. So the first one came up a couple different times, but Rick Way was the first person I saw ask it. Will Gibbs have animosity or vendetta versus the dogs, and or vice versa? with the
We were
dogs?
literally joking about
were
that
joking.
before we started.
Rick, keep playing Minions. Don't worry about it.
In a perfect world, Gibbs couldn't end his activation, his movement after his activation, any closer to that dog, but the dog would have to move his movement toward Gibbs because you got to have that dog chasing the cat constantly through the battle. But that might get in people's way.
That's
when
just
they're trying to
narrative.
play the
Oz.
game. That's
pure narrative.
Yeah.
So when you're playing, have animosity, but put them in the same army and just have them attack each other.
If the patrol dog gets turned into a pirate with Shanghai, does he keep the animosity towards the cat?
I think it is forgiven at that point.
Mentally, he's still a dog.
And the dog has moved on to another stage in its life. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just it's in a different place than when it started.
If that then gets turned into a drudge because of prep for surgery, does it go back to its sort of animalistic need to hurt the cat?
Is that what drudges do?
Yes.
Sure.
Then yeah, sure. I
All
mean,
right.
if they're pumping that guy full of like happy go fun time juice, then probably not.
Okay. Rick, your minion models look great, by the way. I'm serious.
And then I'm pretty sure that most people already know the answer to this one, but the new trenchers, are any of those going to be retroactively available in the Kingmaker theme force?
I mean, anything that the Kingmaker theme force, if it specifies which models work
Yeah.
in it. It says, I believe, trencher infantry only. So unless if a theme force were to come out that would say trencher model / units, then anything with the keyword trencher would work on it. But Kingmaker is very specific in which units you are and are not allowed to take. So, no.
And then Florian was asking that there's a number of mentions both during this and in other places about the Rangers, but they're not seeing them in the PDF at all. Is that something that's actually part of the CID cycle?
Rangers are not currently part of the CID cycle. If people begin using them in their battle reports and want to add anything onto them, but Rangers really feel pretty
spot on.
locked on,
Yeah.
and they have the potential to have a huge effect on Signar as a whole. So we're very happy with where they are, but that doesn't mean. I mean, while we said only provide feedback on the things that are in CID, that doesn't mean everything that you're testing. Rangers are part of this that's
Yeah,
being tested.
absolutely.
So if you have something you want to add on Rangers that was particularly relevant, please do. But getting information on the things that are in this packet is more important first.
Because we're going to be paying attention to the battle reports and people's armies, and if we see that no one is playing Rangers in any of their armies, then we'll come back with a dev talk or something.
Or if they're
and-
playing them all the
and bring it
time.
up. Yeah.
It'd be more like if they're playing. We know Rangers are good.
Yeah.
We know they have their place in certain Signar builds. But if we saw like everyone was trying to get some real abusive uses out of Rangers, then we might have a dev talk about
Yeah.
it. So.
That's the joy of CID.
And then, Jackson, this one's for you from Advanced Maneuvers. Blink twice if you're being held hostage by the Wills.
Oh, I'm not being held hostage at all. There was one.
That
blink
was one
right there.
blink.
I took one blink, so there's no hostage here. They're actually held hostage by me. I would.
That
like
was
to
two
think.
blinks.
That's just because of the lights in my
Yeah.
eyeballs.
I will leave anytime I want. These lights are really warm and comforting. By the
They
way,
are comforting.
Like
but
I do want to take a nap, Tony. This room
don't
is.
hug
It
her
doesn't
first.
exist.
Tony, he's talking to the Tony at large, the general Tony.
I swear. Keep him out of this.
The Void, formerly known as Tony.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then a bunch of people asked this in various different ways, but is this scale typical for theme forces going forward? And what does that look like going down the road, and what's next?
Scale in terms of models?
Models, rules changes, things like that, yeah.
No, it is not typical. They will change depending on the theme force. Some
Yeah.
theme forces, Trenchers is a big one. There will be some CID cycles that the theme force coming out might be 8 new models, maybe 10 new models. There will be smaller and larger cycles depending on what it is that's being tested. Agreed.
And the reach can certainly vary based on what's going on in the game.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to
So-
bring in other models as fit.
For example, if say a Paladin theme force came out for Protectorate and we added like a handful of new Paladin models, that CID would be a very small cycle. Like it would be the amount of new models we were adding, and then like the existing handful of Paladins that are already out there, and maybe like a couple casters, right? So I'm not saying that that's happening. Just spitballing an example of the kind of thing that you could see be a smaller release.
And the next thing, the second part of that question, is what we're talking about in the podcast with Primecast.
Oh, yeah.
Primecast, yep.
I think that's worth mentioning.
I forgot
You
all
want
about
to
it.
spoil it right now?
I can go for it, sure. These guys, do you want to? You can. Go for it. You go for it.
Oh, too slow. This next Tuesday, when the new episode of Primecast comes out, the Struggle of Wills will be talking a little bit about the next theme force that's coming out, and you'll find out about that on Tuesday.
I think he was saying.
Oh, he didn't even spoil it.
I think he was going to spoil it. I thought that was the point.
Can I recognize that John is back there?
Yes, we said you could talk about John.
You can hear him.
You gotta
They
talk
can-
about
and
John.
more
We
importantly,
specifically
they
said
can
the
hear him.
disembodied voice you will hear
Yeah.
is John.
I'm so sorry, Tony.
Don't take. What are you doing?
So the next Primecast, we go over the Northkin theme force and some of our favorite things from it. It is not an exhaustive list, though.
You said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fine. We said it was okay.
Okay.
Pagani's allowed.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I did something.
And
Northkin
then
coming.
A couple people asked this as well, but Christian most recently was, do you foresee that most factions, if not all, will end up getting some kind of structure in the future?
No, all factions will not be getting a structure. It is definitely where it makes sense for the theme force, what factions can benefit from the types of utility and weapons it can bring, but don't expect this to be a colossal, gargantuan battle engine style thing where every faction is getting something. I wouldn't say it's as small as even
No.
Warbeast packs.
On a
where-
long enough timeline, like 2075, maybe by then, everyone will have gotten a structure. But
By then, it's just going to be like space stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. No. Not every
we'll be
faction
playing
is
on the
getting
moon. We will be. War Machine on the moon.
Yeah.
And then
2075.
our friend Travis Marg just wanted to clarify
No, next question.
whether or not the Kingmaker will allow the Trencher long gunners due to it allowing Signar long gunner units.
I mean, but they are Signar. They are
Yes.
long
Yeah,
guns.
I mean, the answer is he's an infernal.
Hey,
He should know the answer to this.
That's why I'm looking all blanks.
yeah.
Sometimes he
There's
likes to put on a face.
He did say as an Infernal, I believe it does.
Yes,
but
it
He
does.
wasn't
Yeah.
100% certain.
They're Signar. They're a long gunner unit. Because remember, you are identified by the various names. They are a trencher unit. They are a long gunner unit because all members are in the unit are both. So, yes. But when people ask, like, will like say the trencher like express team and stuff like that work for Kingmaker? No, it's only the things that are specified.
Yeah.
Right? Like commandos don't work for Kingmaker.
And then I think to answer a number of the other questions on like what other theme forces will be coming out later, at this point they'll kind of have to wait and see.
Well, we've
Northkin.
teased some of them in various ways,
There will
but
be teases.
Northkin is next.
Yep.
There'll be
And there's,
teases.
and there's others.
There's one I want to talk about, but I can't.
Well, there's a lot of ones that I want to talk about.
Oh, but you know the one I'm excited about.
Yeah, the Minions one.
Yes.
Because it's Gatorman and you
Gator
love Gatorman.
specifically,
It already
yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
You can talk about that.
No. I can't yet.
Anyway, but we've teased. I think Man of War in the original launch video and other
Yep.
things. So, yeah,
Man of War
there's-
is definitely
I'm
confirmed.
surprised
stuff.
that people have not really been chattering about that lately.
It comes up every once in a while on the God of War
Sometimes,
Facebook
yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
John, what other questions do you have for us, your hostage dev team?
Looks like we get to go back to work.
Soon.
We're going to go actually read the CID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back
I'm
to
going to be like
different CID.
300 posts behind.
Yeah.
And guys in the that are typing comments, if you think your question got missed or if you have one that comes up later, you can keep posting them, and me and Jackson will check in on them later. So if you got missed, apologies, but we'll see if we can get back to you.
If anything, we'll try to post on the actual video later and try to answer you and make sure that you are heard. It doesn't always happen, but we try our best.
Oh, I just realized that that's why you were giving me that look. We're just about at time.
Yeah, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I think it's time to wrap up here.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, Oz, do you have anything that you want to say to the crowd about CID and trenchers to end off?
Play a lot of games. Give us a lot of feedback.
Play a ton of games.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to say don't just play CID. My main message I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
get out to is we've seen a few people. I saw somebody today say they were feeling a little burnt out on CID, and the point is CID is an opportunity to come playtest, but think of it like an MMORPG test server, right? You make your main character on the main server, and you come test when you want to. Playing War Machine is playing the main game, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't let CID be the only thing you're doing, because then you're losing the fun of what War Machine is. When everything's a playtest, you will burn out. So do this for the couple weeks it's going, mess around with it a little bit, but still go have fun and play games as well. Don't let CID take over your meta.
Yeah,
Don't say that.
So something important to note, this is only a 2-week-long CID cycle, so it is one of our shortest cycles. I think it is our shortest cycle. So we will be trying to update significantly more frequently than weekly. We hope to update almost daily. Whenever we need to update is when we're going to update. Whenever we get great feedback from people and we have rules that we want to change, we're just going to change them and then push that out. So that does a couple things. One, it stops you guys from playing with the incorrect rules for 2 or 3 days or whatever, or through a weekend. So expect more updates, expect them more frequently, and expect the big updates to happen next Wednesday.
Yep. With that said, see you next time. Next week, we will be visiting us again here. Same time.
Same place?
Same place.
Oh, we're doing this again?
yeah.
The same dev crew?
Because it's a 2-week cycle. We're going to do 2 of them.
Oh, sweet. I'll be at Origins.
So we're going to be... Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you'll be
I will
gone.
not be here.
Hungerford
We'll
won't be here.
get you in on a really bad internet connection, and we'll project you on the green screen.
I'll be back when I take over Dallas Kemp's job, and I will
Oh.
be doing the next live painting videos for everyone. By the way, I paint.
It's not going
Our
to happen.
standard,
I paint terribly.
painting videos are not gluing sprinkles to things and then chains.
With that, thank you all.
We did that,
Goodbye.
once.
And I could do that.
Bye.
I can throw sprinkles on things and chainsaw them. Absolutely.
No.
Sprinkles. I love sprinkles. But I don't think